Hi everyone, it's been a number of years since I produced my manoeuvring videos and they're looking a little bit tired now, so it's about time I did an update. Today we're going to be looking at the reverse bay. There are a couple of methods of reversing into a bay, but today we're going to be looking at what we call the three-line method. We've got the bays out in front of us and we're going to be parking in one of the bays on the right, so I'm just going to let this learner finish and then I'm going to move up. The position I'm going to get to in the road is as far away from these bays that I'm going to reverse into as possible, but I've always got to be mindful and make sure that there's enough room to the vehicles on my left hand side or the parking spaces on my left hand side. So I'm going to be about 1 metre away to cope with the swing out that's going to happen. I've already dealt with observations and clutch control that we need to use during these manoeuvres in different videos, so check them out if you haven't seen them. So I'm a good position away from these, I'm about 1 metre, and what I'm now going to do, I'm actually going to line myself up with my turning point. Now, with the turning point, what you've got to think of is the vehicle that you're driving. The vehicle that we're in at the moment, a Volkswagen Golf, is probably a medium size. Other cars might need to change the turning point. Bigger cars generally take longer to turn, but smaller cars tend to turn a little bit sharper. And what I do, I don't look for the line in the window at any point. I just make sure myself, or my head, or my torso, if you like, is positioned probably about 1 foot or 18 inches behind this line. If you take a position off a line in the window, it is dependent on how far you are away, and that's a mistake that I often see people make, that they're looking for a line to line up to a point in the window, and it might not always be accurate. But if you do this, my head is about 1 foot or so, 18 inches behind this line. That's great, that's where I'm going to turn. And if I turn at this point, and I've got to go really slow with my car and steer really quickly, I'm going to end up into the third bay behind. So it's the bay just before where the grid is. So, into reverse, observations everywhere, and I'm just going to wait for this learner again, just to see what they're doing. They've come to a stop, so I'm okay to continue. So I just move and steer quickly without dry steering all the way to full lock. In the meantime, I'm making sure it's safe. And what we're looking for now are the 2 lines in my mirrors. We're trying to go around this one, but we're actually waiting until this side of the car comes inside the line on my left-hand side. I often say to my students, if you watch the rear door handle just come inside the opposite line, like it does now, I can straighten my wheels. The way to straighten isn't to look at your steering wheel, it isn't to look forward. It's to continue to steer until you correct the movement. In other words, you'll stop the vehicle moving from one side to the other, and that's what I've done. You don't necessarily need to always stop like I've just done there. Once you straighten up, you can then get on to the next stage, which is equalising the gaps either side of us. It's really important to look really far. Don't look down close to where the back wheels are. Try and lift your eyes up to the back of the car and beyond, because you'll see from that which way the car is ending up and where it's going to finish. We're not really too fussed on where it is. We're more interested on where it's going to finish, because that's going to help us work out what steering to do. So all we're trying to do is just equalise these gaps at either side. And a little bit wider my side. So all I'm going to do is just slightly steer the wheel this way a touch until they're equal, and then I'm pretty good. I look over my right shoulder and I find my position with the line at the back, and it's usually, for me, in my seating position, just a little bit of that line just in the corner of the window, and that's when I know I'm all the way back. This method also works to the opposite side, so all I'm going to do this time is position my vehicle to the right hand side of the road section. So I'm 1 metre away from these bays on the right. That copes with the swing. My turning point is exactly the same, but to the left hand side, 1 foot to 18 inches behind. But this time I steer full left lock. And when we're coming back it was the other side, this line that I'm looking to come back. Turning this way, it's this side that I'm looking at. So when the rear door handle pops in that line, I straighten up and then I equalise the gaps as far at the back as I can. So I need to go this way a little. And then again, I look over my right shoulder for the curb this time. All done. Remember, observations are the most important thing when you're doing all these manoeuvres. Make sure you check around everywhere, and if anyone comes within your space, just stop and wait for them. There's a further point I would like to add. If you're realising you're not going to be in between the lines, there's no worries about pulling forward and then readjusting. Keep safe everyone, I'll see you soon.